Welcome in. What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 391. Once again going solo as DeMonze is out on paternity leave. This episode of What's Right with Nick Wright is brought to you by, excuse me, one hell of a way to start the show, getting all choked up. Presented to you by our friends at Boost Mobile. And Straight to Voicemail, as always, is brought to you by Boost Mobile. And a lot in Straight to Voicemail is stuff we're actually going to hit on. Insane night in the association last night. Joker could have scored 70 if the Clippers had any real resistance to him. Joker scores 55. The Clippers starters scored 54. Joker had right around 50 midway through the third quarter, as he is, listen, he's been unbelievable all year long. And then also, the Warriors, after a little unrest in the Bay Area after their previous game, Steph put the cape on and drops 46. Wemby has a triple-double, but also 8 turnovers, and the Warriors get a great win over the Spurs, who obviously are without Dylan Harper, but do have De'Aaron Fox back. Also, this is unrelated but related, I suppose. Because we mentioned Joker and then Wemby, somebody posted a screenshot of box score plus minus and how Joker's just lapping the field, and that's legit. He's been that good. But it also had defensive box score plus minus on there. And by that metric, not only is Joker the best defensive player in the league, but he is almost twice as good defensively by that metric as Wemby, which put this in the same bucket as my commentary on some of the PFF grades or the original ESPN QBR before they fixed it that had the greatest game ever played be a Charlie Batch game. If your formula spits out that Nikola Jokic is twice the defender as Victor Wembanyama, you should shutter the formula. You gotta be like, oh, we screwed this up. This should not be a metric that we use or even pretend is useful anymore. And I think Joker's the best player in the world. I think Joker's been the best player in the world for a few years now. Luka and Giannis, obviously, and Shai are trying to say something about it, but nobody has wrestled the belt from him. But some of those advanced metrics are just broken. Just stone broken. And where I think it could matter is in 50 years when folks talk about Joker the way, we talk about Wilt, and it's like, well, I didn't watch him, but here's what the numbers are. At least with the Wilt numbers, they're counting stats. And it's things we believe, the conspiracy surrounding the 100-point game notwithstanding, actually did happen. But insane night in the NBA, and we'll get to Lakers Thunder in a moment. Also, Jameis is going to be the starter for the Packers, and Lamar Jackson missed practice on Wednesday. I assumed this was his annual, the weather got a little chilly and I got sick, missed practice, but the reporting is that it's something to do with his knee. If he practices today, it's nothing. If he doesn't, it's definitely something. And we're not going to know until he practices, because it doesn't matter how optimistic the Ravens are. We know the Ravens and Lamar are rarely, if ever, on the same page when it comes to injury stuff. So that's not a big deal yet, but it's something to monitor. Reminder to everybody, like, rate, subscribe, review to the podcast. We greatly appreciate that. And I do want to start with the defending champion Thunder annihilating the Lakers 121-92. Wasn't even really that close as they get to 12-1. And with the Thunder starting 12-1, blowing people out, playing at this level, it does beg the question of when their second best player, J-Dub, Jalen Williams, comes back, who was all NBA last year, who obviously fit seamlessly with Shai last year. But when they're playing this well, it makes you worry a bit that adding a consensus top 15 player coming off an all-NBA season might screw up what they have going. That they might actually get worse when they add him. And while one wouldn't advocate that they trade that player, and in fact they can't even trade him right now because of his contract and when he signed it, you do worry that it's going to screw up this great thing he's got, that Thunder have going. So that sounded incredibly dumb, right? As I'm saying it, you're like, Nick, what the hell is wrong with you? The team is great. How can adding a great player who we have seen with those guys play great, how can that be bad? Yeah, of course it's dumb. And of course it's a ridiculous opinion. And of course everyone would acknowledge it's a ridiculous opinion. Except, of course, when it was becoming the damn near majority opinion when the Lakers started 7-2, and instead of talking about Jalen Williams, we were talking about LeBron James. Well, they sure have a good thing going. Luka's in control. Austin Reeves is playing awesome. Maybe, just maybe, LeBron coming back would screw things up. That 96 hours ago was a quite popular take. Maybe less than that. I think I argued with the owner of this company on TV about that 48 hours ago. And it's just, there are so many takes out there that exist around LeBron that if they existed around any other player would be laughed out of the room. And they just, but people are so numb to the insane conversation surrounding that guy for the last quarter century that we accept it. It was a legitimate talk show topic. Will the Lakers be better or worse when LeBron James Sr. comes in and starts taking some of the minutes that are currently going to LeBron James Jr.? People talked about it. Will the Lakers be better or worse when some of the shots that are currently being taken by Jared Vanderbilt and Marcus Smart go to LeBron James, fresh off coming in 6th in MVP voting and second team All-NBA? Well, you don't want to mess up the flow with Luka. Like we didn't see LeBron last year, once they got Luka and he was healthy, seamlessly play off the ball. Just so insane. And the real story from last night's game is right now LeBron and J-Dub are they live in the same neighborhood as far as overall impact on the game and quality. You know, if you're ranking NBA players, they're within 2 or 3 of each other. And by the way, the Thunder also didn't have Dort. And so, how close are the Lakers to the Thunder? And the answer to that question probably is not close at all. And while it is incredibly hard to repeat in the modern NBA, the Thunder who are beating teams by an average of 15 points. And at this point, are a coin flip to win 70? With respect to the Nuggets and Joker, and with respect to the Cavs and the Knicks, and I suppose I should include the Pistons because they are 10-2 and on an 8-game winning streak. Out east, the Thunder right now seem to be in just a different class than everyone else. And the goal for the rest of the West contenders legitimately probably needs to be, can I make sure I am a 2 or a 3 seed and avoid OKC as long as possible, and then see what shape they're in coming off a championship once they get to round 3 of the playoffs. Because they are right now, and again, I know Denver's been awesome. And it's also really weird. Denver and OKC, I don't think they play till like February. They play 4 games, I think, in the final 30 of the regular season. OKC seems to right now just be in a different league than everybody else. So, last night was an exciting night in the association. The marquee game, Daniel's telling me they don't play each other until February 1st. Right. So it's going to be a while till we get to see that matchup. And so they play February 1st, February 27th, March 9th, and then April 10th. So we're going to get to see them a bunch in a 2.5 month stretch, but none until then. But the story of the night was Joker's performance, Steph's brilliance, and the Thunder just putting the Lakers to bed early. Now, the story for this weekend in the NFL is the best weekend of games we've had up to this point this season. Games this weekend where both teams have major playoff implications. Bucks, Bills, obviously. Chargers-Jags, which barely makes the cut. Seahawks-Rams, which is maybe game of the year up to this point. Chiefs-Broncos, and then Lions-Eagles. And it is a damn shame that none of those games were able to be flexed to Monday night, where we're going to get Cowboys-Raiders. If there was ever a time to flip out the 4:05 Seahawks-Rams for Cowboys-Raiders, that would have been it. Put that Monday night and put Cowboys-Raiders at 4 o'clock on Sunday, but they didn't do it. So we have an unbelievable weekend of football, and I'm going to start with Chiefs-Broncos, where I understand the numbers are the Chiefs have lost 2 of 3 to Denver. One of those games was Week 18 last year and totally irrelevant to me. What is relevant to me is this. Patrick Mahomes has played Denver 14 times in his career, and he's 13-1. It's the best winning percentage with at least 10 games played against a single opponent this century in the NFL. It's the 4th best in NFL history, not just this century. And what's interesting is they have not all or even most been dominating wins or crazy stats, because even back when the Broncos stunk and Vic Fangio was there, they had a good defensive game plan for Kansas City. And Mahomes hasn't had a ton of eye-popping stat games against Denver. The reason he's 13-1 is because whoever the hell Denver's quarterback has been throughout Patrick's career, they've never been able to give any trouble whatsoever to that Chiefs defense. And I believe that continues this weekend. I think that the Broncos at the moment have every trademark of an excellent team except for the most important by far, which is quality quarterback. And Bo Nix, in the biggest professional game of his life other than the playoff game when they got destroyed, going up against Steve Spagnuolo's defense coming off a bye, is a mismatch. And so I do think Denver's defense is going to be up to the fight. Denver's defense is awesome. Nick Bonito and company are great, and even without Pat Surtain, that's an awesome defense. There's no getting around that. But you're not going to be able to win that game against Kansas City the way they've won, the way they beat the Texans 18-15, the Jets 13-11, the Raiders 10-7, even the Eagles when they had 3 points going into the fourth quarter. That's not, or the Titans game 20-12. That's not going to cut it. And so I do have a lot of respect for that Denver O-line and everything that Denver defense does. But that doesn't change the fact that you have either the best or the second best quarterback in the history of the league, fully healthy with his full receiving core, up against right now a bottom 5 full-time starter. That's enough to tilt the matchup. Now, I want to be clear on this. I don't think you're going to have a 30-point game from Kansas City. I think it is going to be a similar game plan as they had against the Jags that would have worked, but Mahomes made the big mistake at the goal line, which is be conservative, don't turn the ball over, don't make mistakes, don't give them short fields, don't let Mahomes get beat up by that pass rush that is on pace to break the all-time NFL record in sacks, and find a way to win the game and wrestle control back of the division. Because this is, for the Chiefs, a AFC West Championship elimination-ish game. It would take a full-blown collapse by Denver if they win this game for the Chiefs to be able to catch them within the division, and that's not even mentioning the Chargers piece of it. Now, the flip side to that is, if the Chiefs win this game, they are, in my opinion, right back in full control of the AFC West. Kansas City wins this game with home games remaining against the Chargers and Broncos, plus a road game against the Raiders. That's a path to going 5-1 in the division if you win this game. And then with the feeling just being Colts, Cowboys, Texans go 2-1 in that stretch. And that's how you get to 12-5, 5-1 in the division, and that'll win you the division. And so it is a must-win for Kansas City when it comes to their chance of winning the AFC West. It is not a must-win when it comes to their chance of making the playoffs. But the AFC is, it's really hard to handicap right now from a seeding perspective. Like, what will it take to be the number 1 seed, number 2 seed, number 3 seed? And are we potentially looking at a multi-way tie of 12-5 teams for the 1 or the 2 seed? The Patriots, to me, are, and they're going to win tonight against the Jets, are in great shape. And I just believe the Pats are going to be the 1 seed. Because if you're New England, even if you lose your 2 tough games remaining, home for the Bills, at the Ravens, your other games are Jets, Bengals, Giants, Jets, Dolphins. So if the Patriots can just hold serve, they finish 13-4 and with 4 conference losses. That should be enough to be the number 1 seed. And so, and I'm not sure exactly how all the tiebreakers would work for them, but, well, actually, no, I am. If they go 13-4, the only way they wouldn't be the 1 seed is if the Chiefs run the table, if Denver only loses 1 game the rest of the way, or if the Colts, I'm not sure how the tiebreaker would work against Indy. I think it's too early to see. But I don't think the Colts are going 13-4. So the Patriots are in great shape. And the real fight should be for the 2 seed, which again in the AFC this year is not going to be any huge prize. The 2 seed in round 1 likely plays either Kansas City, Buffalo, or the Chargers. Maybe Denver. So it's just, you don't know how the playoff bracket's going to end up falling. What you do feel comfortable in is if Kansas City loses this game, that they are now just trying to secure a playoff berth and no longer the division. And if Denver loses this game, which I think they will, they then run the risk of having the end of season that I anticipated when I picked them to miss the playoffs that they could have. They have a bye, and then they have a couple soft spots at the Commanders, which we didn't think was going to be a soft spot, but now you assume that's without Jaden Daniels, and then at the Raiders. But then the final month of the year, Packers, Jags, Chiefs, Chargers. And you wonder if Denver, if there is a world where Denver goes from 8-2 and I think currently the 2 seed to 10-7 and the 7 seed. And going into the playoffs playing its worst ball. Again, maybe I'm just going to be proven stone wrong about Bo Nix and this team on a 7-game fraudulent winning streak. I doubt it. But a huge game. And one of the biggest regular season game, the biggest game that's been played in Denver in a decade. And one of the bigger regular season games, because there haven't been many of them, that the Chiefs have played since Mahomes has been there. Today's show is brought to you by our new presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. It's that time of year when every day feels like a big game day. You got pro football, college football, NBA, college hoops, all happening. And on Hard Rock Bet, there's always something to bet on. If you haven't tried your first bet on Hard Rock Bet yet, there's still time for you to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Just place a $5 bet, and if it hits, you get not only your winnings, but $150 in extra bonus bets. And if you're not sure what to place your first bet on, check out the Hard Rock Bet Stats Hub. It's loaded with trends, streaks, and stats to help guide your picks. Numbers don't lie, and neither does the data. Here's some that stood out for me. Kelce has had at least 45 receiving yards in 7 straight games against divisional opponents. His over-under is set under that number at 43.5. The Seahawks have won 10 straight on the road. They, of course, are underdogs in LA in maybe the game of the year this weekend. Check out the Stats Hub now. Get the edge and bet with confidence. The Hard Rock Bet Sportsbook app is the only legal sportsbook for whenever you're in Florida. And it's also live in Arizona, Ohio, New Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, and Colorado. Coming soon to more states, too. Plus, Hard Rock Bet offers new promos every day. So whenever you're listening, just open the app and check out what they've got going any day of the week. Download the Hard Rock Bet app and make your first deposit. All right, Seahawks at Rams is, as I've been saying, maybe the game of the year up to this point. It is wildly important, and also, this sounds so dumb. I hate that I'm saying this, but this is what I truly believe. It's wildly important and also maybe not important at all. And what I mean is, these might just be the two best teams in football, and both of these teams have oddly been better on the road. They're a combined 8-1 on the road while being a combined 6-3 at home. And these two teams are going to play each other again in a few weeks. I don't know if it's a few weeks, but obviously they're going to play again before the end of the season. They play, in 5 weeks. So they're going to get a chance for some get back. What I do think is not likely but possible that for the NFC West to have a chance at the 1 seed, one of these teams is going to have to sweep the other. Because Philly, their remaining schedule in their division is just so soft. Philly has Detroit this week. And Tampa, we've talked all year about how soft their final 6 weeks are, that if Seattle or the Rams can sweep the other one, that would go a super long way into one of those teams potentially being the 1 seed. These are also arguably the two most well-balanced teams in the league. As far as great defense, great offense, as far as more than competent running game, and then dynamic passing attack. They both have two very good but very different coaches. And it's exactly what it should be. Home team favored by 3. Old school, where that used to be, now it's 2.5 really is what the home team gets. But where two totally equally matched teams will give the home team 3 points. And I don't have a super strong handicap on this game. My lean is the Rams because it's in Los Angeles. But as I said, Seattle's on this insane, they haven't lost on the road this year, and I think they were 10-0, or they've won 10 straight on the road. So maybe I'm putting too much into the home field advantage piece of it. The other kind of tangential storylines are we get to see Darnold in a big spot And I'm not going to do the pumpkin mode thing on Darnold because I feel like he's been so good this year that he deserves more respect than that. But it is that the concern last year was, how will Sam play in these big spots? And obviously, at the very end of the year, he played his absolute worst after playing so great all year long. He also last year lost to the Rams in the regular season, but played well, and then lost to the Rams in the playoffs, but played terribly. So there is that kind of hanging over the game a bit. And then there is the point that I have been maybe annoyingly hung up on this week on TV, which is Matt Stafford cementing himself as a Hall of Famer by winning league MVP this year. Because Stafford's Hall of Fame case is going to be really tricky in that he's got no All-Pros, has never come close to an MVP, has a 500 record, but he's going to finish in the top 10 and closer to 5 than 10 in every major passing stat. The eye test helps him a ton. He's been, as an unbelievable statistical playoff resume, even if it's limited, 5-5 playoff record. And number one pick, people not necessarily holding the Detroit stuff against him. Right now, I don't think he'd get in. But if you win a Super Bowl and you're a quarterback and you win an MVP, every single one of those guys has gotten in except for Theismann. And Theismann's was weird because he won his Super Bowl in the strike year and then won his MVP the year after. So, point is, I think if Stafford wins the MVP, he punches his Hall of Fame ticket. And I think for him to win the MVP, they probably have to win the division. Because that's just how the voting has gone historically. Like quarterbacks, usually it's the 1 or the 2 seed, but at the very least you win your division. So that is kind of a sidebar story hovering over Stafford, who has just been out of his mind this year in how well he's played, particularly the last month when he's gone in his last 3 games, 5 touchdowns, no picks, 4 touchdowns, no picks, 4 touchdowns, no picks. And for this season, 25 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, a 115 rating. Just a bananas season from Stafford. If he can play a clean, really good game against Seattle, I don't know if he puts a stranglehold on the MVP race, but he puts himself in great position. All right, guys, I am going to Los Angeles to see DeMonze and the baby for Thanksgiving. And just like last year, the day after Thanksgiving, the Lakers have a home game. And I'm going to go. So I am shouting out right now, sponsor of today's video, SeatGeek. 28 million downloads. SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. More than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, concerts, festivals, more. And right now, you, of course, can get tickets to the NFL season, which is in full swing, and the NBA. And I've talked to you guys about using SeatGeek before. Last year, for this, when I went to see the Lakers take on the Thunder the day after Thanksgiving, we bought, 6 tickets on SeatGeek. And I'm going to do the same right now. And you know how it works. By the way, I looked. I was like, maybe I'll go true courtside. SeatGeek helps you out. And they do tell you, hey, this courtside seat is not a great deal. It's $21,000. This courtside seat is a great deal. It's $13,000. So maybe I won't go SeatGeek. However, one row behind courtside, you move a comma in that, it's as far as the price. And there's a big difference between, some row one seats and other row one seats. And SeatGeek lets me know what the best ones are. I'm looking at them right now as we sit here. You can see the big green dots means great deal. Little red dots mean stay away. And if you're colorblind, a score close to 1 is bad. A score close to 10 is excellent. And they are all backed by their buyer guarantee. So, if you guys could help me out on this, use code WRIGHT10, WRIGHT 10, for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code WRIGHT10. Make sure you click the link in the description, download the app, and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you to my friends at SeatGeek. All right, another one of the huge games. Lions-Eagles, Sunday Night Football. And once again, the Eagles cannot stay out of their own way despite winning games. And I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, NFL Daily. I talk about it a lot with Greg Rosenthal and company. And in previewing this game, his co-host Patrick Claybon, basically tongue-in-cheek, melted down about the media bothering Sirianni and Hurts about A.J. Brown and about how this team won a Super Bowl last year and about how this is much ado about nothing because the latest A.J. Brown drama is him going on a Twitch stream and saying things are not going well and drop me on your fantasy team. And how he and I'm sure others think it's a non-story. Here's why I vehemently disagree with that. A.J. Brown being happy or not might not matter. But the Philadelphia Eagles, with the most expensive offense in NFL history, with guys who are all pro caliber, all over the offensive line, multiple receivers, Saquon, Jalen Hurts. That team being this pedestrian on offense is a story. It flatly is. And it's inexplicable. Their inability out of a bye in a game they scored 0 points in the first half to get A.J. Brown involved is inexplicable. Them leading the league by a huge margin on 3-and-out rate is indefensible. And so I give the Eagles credit because they do find a way to win, and they're champions. And the defense, particularly with the addition of Jalen Phillips, is rounding into form. All of that is great. But A.J. Brown is not wrong. He might be wrong in his delivery, in the way it feels diva-ish or selfish. All that's fine. But his concern that this offense is not functioning properly is totally correct. Totally correct. And I don't have an answer for it. It seems like Patullo and Sirianni are wildly conservative with the play calls up until they are just lunatics on the 4th and down at the end of the game. They have the highest rate of running the ball on 3rd and long of any team in 25 years. which are just give up plays. Now, some of that, a tiny bit of that might be tush-push related, but really, they're give up plays. And so, it feels silly to concern troll the Eagles, who have won like 22 of their last 24 and are the defending champs. But it also feels ridiculous to watch that team have 0 points at halftime, to see A.J. Brown with multiple games this year with 3 or fewer targets after he had 1 game like that the previous 3 years, and act like nothing is wrong. Also, it is to me at this point a foregone conclusion that A.J. Brown is going to be gone this offseason. And I personally would be quite surprised. Like, my money would be on A.J. Brown is going to be a New England Patriot a year from now. But none of that matters for this season. I almost shouldn't have even brought it up because the trade deadline is passed. And that's the other part of this that is baffling to me. You have a bye. You decide not to trade A.J. Brown. The market for receiver, like, again, this is me just speculating, but if Buffalo was going to give up a 1 and a 3 for Jalen Waddle, I would imagine they would have given up something similar for A.J. Brown. Philly didn't want to trade him. So then use him. And if you're not going to use him, it's got to be because the offense is humming without him, but it's not. Saquon, the game before the bye notwithstanding, Saquon is having a brutal year. He is averaging 3.9 yards per carry. Saquon's yards and yards per carry by game this season, 63.3, 88, 4.0, 46, 2.6, 43, 2.3, 30, 5.0, only got 6 carries, and a loss to Denver. 58, 4.8, 44, 2.4. The game against the Giants, 150, 10.7. And then 60 for 2.7. So aside from the Giants game, Saquon this year has run the ball 135 times for 429 yards. So what is that? 135 for 429. 135 times 3 is 405. So that is 3.2 yards per carry. I'm now going to do that math real quick and see if I got it. I think it's 3.2 yards per carry. So we said it was 429 divided by 135. Yeah. 3.18 yards per carry. Aside from the Giants game. So, feed the ball to A.J. Brown. It's just baffling. And I don't think it's... We can say him being upset is nothing, but the offense not working is not nothing. Hey guys, are you thinking about upgrading to the all-new iPhone 17 Pro, designed to be the most powerful iPhone ever, but you're also thinking about the potential traffic on your way to the store or transferring all your data? Good news. When you order a new phone online with Boost Mobile, they will send an expert to your home or work to deliver your brand new iPhone 17 Pro and get you all set up on Boost Mobile within minutes. No hassle. Visit boostmobile.com to get started. Delivery available for select devices purchased at boostmobile.com. Terms apply. Another huge game this weekend, Bucs-Bills. And vibes-wise, important for Tampa, but not... It's important for Tampa for vibes and if they want to have a real shot at the 1 seed. It's not really that important for any other reason. We talked all year about this 3-game stretch, Patriots at Bills at Rams, and then the 6-game cakewalk they have to end the year. So they'll be fine either way, especially in that division and with the Panthers coming back down to earth. The Bills, vibes-wise, this is important, and also logistically-wise, this is important. The Bills already are, according to the New York Times, down to 15% to win their division. And if they lose this game, that gets cut in half. So, unless they want to be a wild card, obviously they've got to win. But you also would like to see Buffalo look like Buffalo against a good team. And I know they just came off that win against the Chiefs, and that was a great win. But fair or not, Buffalo's the one team that beating the Chiefs in the regular season doesn't really mean anything to them because they're so used to it. And if they were to lose this game, all of a sudden they're in Houston on Thursday night, a week from today. And you also feel like there is a chance Tampa comes into this game a little healthier than they've been. They already got their offensive linemen back. And Bucky Irving and Chris Godwin did return to practice. Now, they were limited, but they're practicing again. Buffalo, meanwhile, Dalton Kincaid did not practice Wednesday, and Khalil Shakir was limited. So Buffalo seems pretty banged up and seems unsteady. I still believe both of these teams are super dangerous come the postseason. But if Buffalo loses at home after losing to Miami, I think there is a chance for some real drama there. It feels like amongst the fans, there's already a lot of discontent. Some fans don't like the GM. A lot of fans don't like the head coach. A lot of fans seem to not like Joe Brady anymore. And they do all of a sudden, the Bills, who were supposed to have the super soft schedule, but didn't take full advantage of it with the losses to the Falcons and the Dolphins, all of a sudden, their next handful of games, home for the Bucs, at the Texans on Thursday, at the Steelers, and then, do I have this right? Yeah, and then against Cincinnati in what should be a game against Joe Burrow before you go to New England again. It's a tough little stretch. So do I think, the Bills can full-on steady themselves with a win this weekend, and they should win. But you'd like to see Josh Allen have an A-plus clean game with some big plays, and you'd like to see that defense be able to slow down the run, which they simply have not been able to do all year long. On the Bucs side of things, a great Baker game and a win would get him back where he was a month into the year in the real thick of the MVP conversation, particularly if Stafford and the Rams lose to Seattle. And I don't expect Patrick to help himself in the MVP race this weekend because obviously they could lose. I don't think they will. But even if they win, I don't think he's going to have a huge stats game. And then the last game of the weekend that we discussed, where both teams have real playoff implications, is Chargers-Jags. And that is a crazy element of where the AFC is right now. And this will probably surprise people. If the Jags beat the Chargers, even if Kansas City wins, Kansas City will still be on the outside looking in of the playoff picture. Because if the Jags beat the Chargers, the Jags will be 6-4. Same with the Chiefs. So if the Chiefs beat the Broncos, and the Jags obviously have the head-to-head tiebreaker. So that is a weird spot for the current Super Bowl favorite Kansas City Chiefs, that even if they win this weekend, they might still go into week 12 on the outside looking in of the playoffs. For the Jags, and this is why, and this applies to the Chiefs, even though I think they'll be fine. This applies to the Chargers if they lose this game, and this applies to the Bills if they lose to the Bucs. If the Jags win this game, which, full disclosure, I don't think they will. I thought that loss to the Texans was an abomination, the way it happened. And since beating the Chiefs, they have one win, and it came in overtime thanks to a stopped 2-point conversion over the Raiders. But if the Jags beat the Chargers, they get to 6-4 with games remaining against the Cardinals, Titans, Jets, and Titans again. Like, the Jags have a very real path, even if they get swept by the Colts and lose to the Broncos, to somehow getting to 10 wins. And holding the head-to-head, again, if they win this game, holding the head-to-head tiebreaker over the Chargers and over the Chiefs, which could create some very uncomfortable situations late in the season for those two teams. But I think the Chargers will be able to win this game. We'll see on tomorrow's show if it's one of the picks. And I also think the loss of Travis is just brutal for him. And do I have hope that the Jags can win and we can recreate this iconic video? Sure. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. Last time these two teams played each other, or at least the last big game these two teams played against each other, here's what happened right afterwards.
I'm going to tell everyone how Nick Wright is. F***ing great. The Jaguars were 4-8. And somebody had the foresight to say they're still winning the division. And I told you guys a month ago that the next time they lose was going to be in Arrowhead to the Chiefs in the divisional round. Yo, you don't say! Everybody laughed at me. Hold on, guys.
Man.
Never a doubt. I got to tell you the truth. There's a little bit of doubt. The Prince comes through.
To mention he's still undefeated on Saturdays.
Undefeated on Saturdays! I forgot about that stupid take I had.
I forgot about so much of that. Also, my hair was a lot shorter. I'm getting a haircut today, actually. Maybe I should just play him that video and be like, I want that Jags look. Maybe we'll give Trevor a little juice. All right. Quick listener questions. What presents a bigger problem for KC in the next two games? Broncos defense or the Colts defense with Lou Anarumo? I think Broncos defense presents a bigger problem, but the Colts obviously have a much, much, much more potent offense. Rule of halves. Why does no one at First Things First respect Jackson Dart? I think we respect Jackson Dart. I don't think anybody is over the top about him, but I don't think people take shots at Jackson Dart. Andy asks, what's your minimum height for an NFL quarterback? 6'1". 6'1" is my answer. Nick, do you think Drake May is actually a year after year top 5 quarterback? Seems like every year we had a rookie to this tier. I know he played last year, but this is his first full year. I mean, last year was basically a full year. I think he is going to be in that caliber. And I don't add a rookie to that every year. Now, I added Caleb to that before his rookie year. But I pumped the brakes on C.J. Stroud, and I pumped the brakes on Jaden Daniels. I believe in Drake May, that he's that caliber. Brandon, can we please all finally agree Lamar is a better passer than Josh Allen? No, we don't. We don't all agree on that. Someone asks, I need 3 best bets for this weekend, and I need a win. Tune in tomorrow. In fact, that'll do it for us today. Like, rate, subscribe, review, gambling show tomorrow. Thank you to our wonderful sponsors at Hard Rock Bet, Boost, SeatGeek, and our friends at Zen. Also, shout out to Blue Duck and Volume. See you guys tomorrow for our Week 11 gambling show.